Hey everyone, welcome back to Alf's Mustang Garage, bringing you another video to help keep your Mustang on the road and out of the garage. Today we're working on a 67 Mustang convertible 289. We just did a carburetor rebuild on this. It's got a little 2-barrel Holly on it. And what we're doing today is we're gonna get this choke working. It's got a hot air choke, and what tends to happen with these is they rust out and rot out on the bottom. Okay, so if you take this off, these chokes, you can see it's completely rotted out. The other end of this is stuck down the exhaust manifold. So if you're unfamiliar with how a hot air choke works, this metal tube goes down. There's a little port on the exhaust manifold that it will insert into. And all it does is it transfers heat up through the tube to the choke thermostat, okay? And it'll heat this up, and the choke will open as it warms. We want to get that working. That is a vital component to cold starts, especially here in the winter in Utah. These carburetor engines are pretty cold-blooded, so we want the choke to be working perfectly. So we have a new choke tube kit. This is from Classic Tube. You can get these from National Parts Depot. Here's all the part numbers. We're using the stainless steel. This is the better version, so we want this to last as long as possible. And so today's video is all about getting this thing together, and we're gonna probably have to do a little bit of drilling on the manifold to kind of drill out where the old one kind of rotted out. So, and then his second tube that he has is completely missing, it looks like. So anyways, that's what we're doing today. We're doing a choke tube, and let's get started. Okay, so here's our two choke tubes. Just to kind of further explain how this works, I'm going to try and get a really good visual down here. So here's the top of the manifold port. Now that's the piece that goes. We need to drill out the old section of tube, and that tube goes from that top of the manifold up to the choke mechanism itself. Now, further down on that manifold, you're going to get a second tube. Okay. Now this tube will run on the bottom. So there's actually a port right here for the second tube, and that will come up to this port here on the carburetor, and that's actually going to pull in some hot air from the manifold as well. So you're going to get the heat from the manifold to open up the choke thermostat, and you're going to get just general hot air coming into the carburetor to help this thing warm up on a cold start. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do to address this issue, and I do see this a lot, is where that end of the old choke tube is just kind of still down the manifold. We're just going to run our drill through there and try to just drill it out. So this exhaust manifold, this is not like a direct port to actual exhaust. It's just a heat transfer is all it is. So like you're not really like going to be drilling into any sort of passageways for the actual exhaust to flow through. So if you just kind of take your time and use the smallest bit possible and work your way up as necessary, you shouldn't have any kind of problems. Okay, there's that old piece of choke tube. I was able to break that loose as I was drilling, so that's nice. Now our hole looks like it's probably good for our new tube. Let's do a test fit. So I'm just kind of doing a test fit here. These new tubes are going to be pretty tight. I mean, it's going in, but it probably wouldn't hurt just to kind of take your drill and just kind of bore it out just slightly. You don't want it to be too loose. You want to be really careful when you do this, but at the same time, I don't want to have to hammer in this new tube, but she's really close. Well, I think that's a perfect fit. I kind of had to twist it and push it down at the same time, but it's a very nice snug fit. Okay, so now that I have that top port drilled out, I'm gonna have to do virtually the same thing on the lower port. And it actually goes into the side. I understand this may be difficult to see, but it goes like roughly right where my thumb is right there. It comes in through the side. And I'm gonna have to do the same thing. I'm going to just kind of bore that out with my drill. And this is obviously gonna be a lot harder to get to. I may have to lift this car up, not sure yet. I'm gonna see if my drill will fit down in there. Okay, so I was able to get both the top and the bottom holes drilled out. I wasn't able to get the bottom on camera. It's such a tight fit in there with the drill. You gotta get like a smaller drill. And same process as the top though, it's just, you're just coming at it, you know, from the side of this right here. But anyways, now that we have our holes ready, we can install our choke tubes. So we have two tubes. Now they all have like a beveled end like this, except for one. Okay, that's the end that gets a threaded portion that goes to the actual choke mechanism on the carburetor. You're gonna have one that has like a 90-degree bend. That's for the lower portion down the manifold. Okay, let's get this lower tube installed. This might be a better way to see that lower hole. It just kind of goes in the side right here. Upper one installs. Kind of like that. Okay, so there's the tubes. They're installed into the manifold, so lower, upper, both are going up to the carburetor. Okay, so on this upper choke tube, you got this little bag of goodies. You got a little, heat protective sleeve. So you want to slide that on first. Looks like it's easier to do that with the tube out. Definitely installs easier from having the tube out. Okay, once you get your protective heat sleeve on here, they're kind of a tight fit. You have to really work them on, but you have the end here that doesn't have the bevel. You have a threaded fitting. It goes on like that. Now we can install this back into the manifold. Might be a little bit of flexing involved. But it goes on like that, and then you just thread your nut on, and that's the upper choke tube. Okay, so your lower choke tube hose just kind of routes up right here, and then you're gonna have a little rubber section that completes that, going to the carburetor, just like that. Last piece is just this little clamp. Okay, and you can put that on down here, just kind of secures the two of these pieces. Together like that. But yeah, that's how they go on. So it's really hard to see with the engine in the car, but that gives you a pretty good idea. And that's a good replacement. It's a good replacement part there. The classic tube is who's manufacturing those. So anyways, that's your choke. Now you just got to get this adjusted and see how she runs and make sure your thermostat's working, and opening up your choke when you warm your engine up. But yeah, not a whole lot to them. So okay, as always, thanks for watching. Appreciate you. We're here to help keep your Mustang on the road and out of the garage, and we'll see you next time.